Gig worker business loans up to $10,000 with instant approval, same day funding, even more up to 2 million and above. Also, one option that is super lucrative for many gig workers, the self-employed, with 0% interest funding, which is great because you can even save more. It can amount to more over time. As a gig worker, someone self-employed, somebody who's been in your shoes in the past, who went through a lot of that, I understand very well that options can be limited for gig workers. You look at the setup, you look at, well, do I have a 401k? If I do, is it enough? Can I withdraw from? Should I do that? You have to set up an IRA instead. You have to look at employment, unemployment benefits. What are the pros and cons to the two? Having your own direction, not having enough of a savings, going on unemployment benefits, if that's even given to you. There's so much that you have to pay close attention to when you're a gig worker doing things on your own. You don't get specific benefits, health care coverage, or the best type. You don't have an employer looking over your shoulder. The unemployment benefits that you usually wouldn't get or enough of, the savings, revenue, sales, income already fluctuates and you don't have enough of a savings. You probably had to use that to pay for certain expenses, having to plan out months ahead, which is what I recommend 3 plus 6 months, 9, 12 months out to plan, more so less than 3 months as a gig worker, and seeing what your lowest revenue sales scale will be like before those months come up. So I'm going to be showing you that. I'll be putting a few things on this document down below in the description too. I will have this questionnaire form for you to fill out if you haven't already. It says, get the funding your business needs fast with the help from a real expert. And I'm a funding expert, a business loan broker expert, as well as a pre-underwriter slash underwriter. I know what it is like out there. I run multiple businesses myself. They are my babies. I take great financial care of responsibility, accountability, understanding the operational costs, income versus expenses. I look at everything. I look at bank statements, tax returns. I do a lot of credit report reviews, P&Ls, you name it. I see it. I'm more of an introvert, very analytical, cerebral type. I don't talk much. I'm a doer. I look at math systems. Those are the things that I love. Assessing, profitability, cash flow, EBITDA, and so much more. So I'll link you to this down below in the description. You can select from one of the two. You'll also get a free 6-step pre-approval funding checklist and 900 plus exclusive free grant documentation list, more or less there. And it's up to date. So you can see a lot of that. That'll help you out. So non-startup business with 3 plus months in business or startup business with less than 3 months in business. There's classifications to what a startup is: less than a year, just over a year, less than 2 years, generally up to 12 months a lot of the time. But in this way, I separate it in a way that makes sense so I can understand what's being submitted. And what I do is I take the time to analyze, evaluate it, and I give you a proper email response that's very customized and personalized, including a PDF showing you your best funding option and options, thoroughly broken down like nobody else's business, even showing you options that you can't find publicly or in terms of all the details. And so I'll give you things on credit, cash flow, collateral, liquidity, equity, for credit repair, and so much more you have in one PDF. I'll guide you on where to look at, and it'll help you longer term so you can reference it. A lot of people love it. It's customized to you. If there's numbers, it'll be numbers and things that you just don't see. And I'll leave more information down below on how to get directly started with submitting your gig funding app sequence and how that goes. I'll explain it here shortly, so please stick with me. So the key benefits of not just the entity, but myself, a very loyal person, integrity galore, very compassionate, mentally disciplined. I value accountability, responsibility, value, vision, mission in life as a person. And as an entrepreneur myself, I've worked on my mindset, personal development. I'm not a guru. I went to school academically. I studied sociology for a little bit, played Division 1 soccer, then I got into chemical engineering. That's how my brain works. And then I had to make a big decision to get into business classes even more. So started doing that, got my degree through that, worked construction, manufacturing, other roles in the past, freelancing, gigs, did quite a bit of that. So I understand where you're coming from. So right here, see some of the companies I've helped get funded. And there are more, you just see a handful of them, but you'll go through here and select from one of the two options that applies to you. Let's just say non-startup, and there will be a form that you can fill out. Please read this. It's just letting you know how serious and punctual I am about my energy and time, as so you should be. I have a high standard, very nice person. You don't have to worry with me being pressuring you or none of that. So in here, you'll fill out these details. I am not a creditor, but please list your information here so I can better pre-underwrite. It's not an application, but I can understand by what is placed here, what can work. Once the review, the bank statements, and all that comes through, it's even more from there. So you see all of this. Now back to this part. What I also want to go into in this video, I'll also show you how you can save more as well. So I have also a rewards program. This is what you're looking at. I'll leave it down below in the description. This is my back office right here, and everything that you get included into this with the apps, products, services, and what you can set up with free bonus apps. You also have exclusive premier and premium member apps. So the Nexus Benefits Hub, this is the world's largest selection of discounts, rewards, and lifestyle benefits currently used by 23% of Fortune 500 companies. Nexus Bill Reduction Program, which is helpful to you as a gig worker. If you're not even a gig worker and you're in the construction trade to a different capacity, contracting, subcontracting, trucking, you're in retail, restaurants, IT, any business, staffing, I can go on and on. You can use this yourself. That'll help you out on the consumer side, even on the business side, that will help you even save more so you can allocate more funds and have more cash flow, more reserves. There's so much you can do with this. So NXRX prescription discount app, Nexus Shopping Boss app, Nexus Zoom Rewards. So I wanted to quickly introduce you to this as a gig worker and once being one. And then I also use this nowadays for a lot of things. So getting cash back on everything for groceries and more on every receipt, gas and restaurant app, earn cash back on gasoline and dining. So if you're driving as an Uber, Lyft driver, grocery, mystery shopper, whatever it is, delivery driver to any capacity, could be anything. You can go ahead and get cash back on gasoline and dining to help you go out and have a meal that you feel more comfortable with. You don't have to stress out about go out with your family and not have to think about everything else going on, your utilities, your bills. It's already amounting. And so you need help with this and you can reduce things. I'll leave this down below in the description. And you see here, it might take you directly to this page or a different one. But Nexus Rewards enables you to easily make money on purchases you're already making, from gasoline all the way down to online or offline. And I know this is very helpful for as a gig worker that can use this, but gasoline savings, save up to 25 cents per gallon and more every time you get gas. Refer others, you get 15 cents a gallon per referral, plus 1 cent a gallon for every gallon they buy forever. So they also have a referral membership. You can join as a business opportunity. I'll leave more information down below. So if you wanted to completely leave what you were doing and you needed help from an expert who knows things online, I've built multiple businesses successfully and also being a digital strategist with my background before I got into funding. So I know the whole landscape very well, very observant, and I know how it works. So I can help you with this or do it on the side as well. Let the professional negotiators lower your bills for you. You see what other people are saying. This program is awesome. I can hardly believe it. Saved over 600 on my homeowner's insurance. Over here, you have Braylon. I was skeptical about earning so much cash back. Things that sound too good to be true usually don't work out well for me. Boy, was I wrong. My wife and I have earned $246.32 in just a few weeks. I highly recommend the app. Ron, I'm 62 years old, so there's more here as this is scrolling by. I've already got over $80 cash back on things I already buy. I would highly recommend to anyone that likes saving money. So you can go through this, and I'll leave you more information down below in the description so you can see this here. Nexus Zoom rewards, save up to 50% in discounts or up to 50%. There's a presentation plan. Art and Rob Phelps are the co-founders. So if you wanted to participate in the business opportunity, I'll leave more information down below. But again, I just wanted to show you this and what it looks like. Rakuten, Upside, Fetch, you get the free apps and everything in here that is included to help you along your journey. So one last thing I wanted to show you very quickly is if here's the free members page. Enroll for free, get $34 in free cashback bonuses. So you see all of that right here. Nexus Rewards has the ultimate referral program that takes your savings, cashback, and earnings to a whole other level while helping you build a significant, sustainable income. So a lot of people are joining. I'll show you more information down below if that's something you wanted to check out as a consumer and or part of the business opportunity. So with that said, let me go over here and now put a few details below in what we are looking for when you're looking for funding. So what you want to meet to be able to get up to 10,000 in eligibility, excuse me, is you want to have a minimum of 3,000 a month on your lowest month in the last 90 days or the last 3 months. That's what my lenders are looking for, especially for gig workers, the self-employed in general, entrepreneurs. It can apply to anything. You don't have to be an Uber, Lyft driver, grocery delivery driver, or any other type of role, musician, from here to there. You have events. It can be anything applied to, but 3,000 a month minimum, and usually it's 3,000 to 14,000 in the range for these lenders, or 14,000 or 15,000 is what they're looking for. And once you exceed 15,000 or you have a minimum of 15K, then I can look at a different provider in a specific location that makes more sense. And if you have a different business, you have multiple, and you need funding for each one, we can submit each one separately to be reviewed. And on the back end, reviews for documentation. But with a lot of the self-employed or the gig workers with lower revenue, you're not generating at least 5,000 and you're in New York and California, because specific lenders won't work with you if you're in those states. So this one lender that requires a minimum of 3,000 and there's no credit check, you don't have to have a specific credit score. It's best that you're in like the 450 and above, ideally, but there's no credit score requirement. Then they're going to look at a 3,000 minimum, but you can be in most states except California or New York. And if there's more of them, you'll see that California and New York, excuse me. So if that's the case and you're in California, a minimum of 5,000, New York, a minimum of 5,000 plus per month, and we can go to a different provider that I can check for you. I can even look at multiple at once, and it doesn't hurt your credit. Other places out there, they overpromise and underdeliver. They overwhelm you by sending you from one to the next one. You're unsure who you're hearing from. That's not what happens here. You're protected, and you just have to be careful of people just taking your file and then sending it to different places, third-party marketplaces, taking it to a credit repair company. You have to be very cautious, not just giving up your information, even if there's no credit requirement. When there are credit requirements, even if it's a soft pull, they have your information, data storage. Be careful. I do not use your information against you. I use this stuff to help you and where we are to the capacity that we are at. So I'm very ethical in what I do in my practices. So right here, 3,000 a month is what they're looking for. Approval ranges, they're normally 25 to 75% of your monthly revenue. So 25% to 75% of monthly revenue. And it can be based upon your lowest month, the 3,000, looking at your average. And that's what it'll be looked at based on, more or less, depending on fluctuations, depending on deposits, depositing frequency, the type of deposits, revenue trends, looking back, and so forth. So if you had 14,000, then at max 10,000 is it for the 75. And then you can quickly do the numbers on what's 25% of 14,000, or what's 25% of 7,000, what's 25% of 5,000. It varies, again, what you would get. And I've seen a lot of these files. If you're doing 5,000, if you're doing 10,000 in a specific industry, these uses of funds, depositing frequency, the amount of deposits too, is also important. And I'd like to see 5+, 6+ deposits with a lot of these. 4+ though is generally a lot of the times what lenders are looking for. If you have anything less than that, I'm not saying it will get disqualified, or you will be, but there's a huge emphasis on revenue. And so you're already a higher risk file with lower revenue. And if you had nothing the previous month and you come into this without any good cash flow projections and assumptions, and even if you did, but you don't have proof of revenue and sales, so we can't just take your face value projection and business plan and say, yes, we'll lend you based upon what you'll be making. No, it's what you're doing now. What could you potentially be making in future revenue slash sales? So that's very important. You have to understand that. So even if you're underneath 4, even if you're underneath 5 or 6 deposits, it could be considered, but it could become a higher risk. It's just looked at upon what's your average daily bank balances, what is it at the end of the day for each day. There's quite a bit of that. So ideally 4+, 5+, 6+, but if you have less than that, which is understandable at this moment because of the revenue ranges, then that's still going to have a look, but it can have a reverse effect if the depositing, if you have non-sufficient funds, negative days, and that's where we come into this next part. So besides this here, you don't want to have no more than five, excuse me, NSFs. These are non-sufficient funds or negative days in any of the last 3 months. So exceeding that number puts you at a fault, could put you in a default. Chargebacks, you start thinking about covering transactions, fees, processing fees. Like when it comes down to giving you the funding, if you have too much of these negative days, not sufficient funds, it doesn't look good. How is the lender going to extract and depend upon you paying them back? It's hard, right? It's already hard with what you're going through. So again, if you needed also more savings, you needed to save on gas, things like that, groceries, dining, as an Uber, Lyft driver, grocery delivery, shopper, whatever you're doing, doesn't even have to be in the gig economy. You wanted to save more, you wanted to have more cash back. You want to have your biggest payday ever as a result from this, you being able to make more. Then check this out. And again, the business opportunity, I'll link it to you down below in the description so you can understand more about it. But back to this side of things, that's how it works. You're depositing your negative days, your non-sufficient fund days, and yes, there's quite a bit more details that I can go over on each one of these, like the 25 to 75% giving you different scenarios, but I'm going to leave it at that. The other thing too is if you have a current capital advance, and these are advances based upon your future receivables, they're not technically a loan. In some states they are, but an advance is based upon what your future receivables, your future projections and revenue and sales will be. Based upon what you do now, what would it look like in about 3 to 6 months? And these give you 3 to 6 month terms. So these are usually 3 to 6 month terms in duration. At times you may have seen up to 10 weeks, 8 weeks could be a case, but for this, you see a lot of it being 3 to 6 month terms. And I have exclusive partnerships, just so you know this, and with relationships where it could look a little bit different. And when you go from one place to the next one, and you ultimately have to make your decision based upon the numbers. I understand that, but too many people and businesses and business owners are not very integrity like. I'm not saying you are not that, but what I've come across is they don't value so much the professionalism and the integrity and the loyalty as a person first, and then what the person can do in helping them get funding. I have both sides addressed, so you don't have any problem with me. I don't create friction or resistance. And honestly, I'm not perfect. I don't do things to deserve what I get from certain people. And I just want to be energy and time efficient at the end of the day, and I will help you out. So 3 to 6 month terms. These are also factor rates. So 1.29 to 1.69 is the factor rate. So if you're getting 10,000, let's say, for example, and you were given a factor rate of a 1.39. So what I do is I take that 10,000, multiply it by 1.39, and that'll equal a simple number that's round. That's why I use this is 13,900. It doesn't get complex, but there's numbers on our back end we're doing, the lender's doing, that I'm looking over, underwriting department. There's quite a bit. I have a very underwriting mindset. I was going to just become a full-time underwriter for a while, like not just be one, but just be one for a longer extended time horizon. But the reason why that's not what I saw through is because it's the opportunity cost. I'd have to be in house, or I'd have to be doing more of the legwork on that, and I couldn't have my own business on the side like this, or the way that I wanted to structure it and be independent of, and not just be on time, on schedule. I couldn't always do that whenever I wanted to take a file. Like that doesn't work in most cases. So there's this side of things. So 13,900 on the 10,000. Can you repay that? That's the question. You have to ask yourself, can I repay this back? Yes, in some ways it can take away from cash flow, but if your opportunity of taking 10,000, you're making 20K with, you're making 30, you're making even just 15K, you're not hitting equilibrium and you can be in profit. If your margins are already thin enough, but you can make more with this, and it'll help to some capacity, at least help you grow, get you that next tire, and you had no other choice, but you had to. But can you rebound? You don't want to get yourself into a position where you're now getting negative days. You're now not back into the field and doing the revenue and the sales that you should be, and you knew you could be, You are more consistent on it. Your pattern, your ROI is more predictable when you've been doing this long enough that it becomes more comfortable, even with quote unquote expensive money. It's expensive if your ROI, your benefit, does not exceed your repayments. And there are more metrics and numbers that can determine that. I won't get to that right now, but make sure you understand that. Even if you take 5,000, paying back 7,000, can you do that over 3 to 6 month terms? Even less, can you? Can you take less to begin with and then get more over time? There's that as well. So all of that is instated into this. What you're going to see with this are automatic approvals. And what I mean by that is it's not manually done. Why? Because of the underwriting department. You know how much work, energy, and time it would take when people default on these? You see a higher risk with lower revenue, sales volume. It's not enough ROI out of it to put a team behind it. And there's so much more that gets complex. People calling in all the time, people asking for why this was done incorrectly. And it wasn't, not that it was done incorrectly, is that you don't have the right perception and way of using these funds where the benefit is greater than your repayment. And even if it was at a time, it isn't any longer. You're trying to get rid of these. I understand that. So just don't take more than you can chew. Understand what you'll be doing with your revenue and sales, what you can use to pay back, what you can do to set aside, profitability, gross, net. Understand those things. So manually done, and it's connected through Plaid. So connected with Plaid integration. And I've done a separate video on this. I'll try to link you to down below, but it's very ethical. So you'll have your banking credentials ready when you're given a soft offer in the beginning. So to be able to get a soft offer or to be able to go through this process, you want to make sure you link with Plaid. Some banks, 5 to 10% or so, won't link. You might have to check in with them back office, your app, or call in, or you'll have to go link directly with Plaid. You'll have to go sign up with them, and that can work in some instances. It's not for everybody, but it can. And if it just doesn't work, what are the alternatives? Can we look at an alternative in a specific lender in this field? And if that's not the case, because they won't work with you, then we can look at like maybe credit. We can look at a cash out refinance. We can look at using a credit partner, 401k IRA, turn into working capital, grant. There are other options out there for you as well. But here, connect with Plaid, and it's very safe and secure again. So it'll read that inside the account. It doesn't do anything wrong, by the way. It's all ethical. A lot use this, very proven. So it'll link and it'll be able to check things to make sure you get an approval, if anything. If there's no approval, you'll know that. And to connect with Plaid, you'll do that. You'll have an offer you can say yes to if you were given an offer, and then the contracts will be sent to your email. You can review, go ahead and look it over, sign, date, do all this fancy stuff you need to look at when you look at a contract, understand it all. There are early repayment discounts, just so you know, and maybe it isn't in all situations and it isn't that much. It could help in some ways more than others, but you'll see that there with early payment discounts if feasible and applied. But contracts to your email, you can go ahead and sign that. Once you do sign it, there will be a final underwrite. So when most people come to me and go, well, I thought I was given an offer, you were, but you have to understand there's junior, senior underwriting, and that has to go through that process, even manually in cases. So if there's something in background, if there's something else that wasn't seen that they need to see on what your current revenue is and what was tracked back then, and that's the issue, it won't be as sustainable with you getting this and be able to repay it back and be able to use it effectively. It'll actually do you more harm than any good. So final underwriting, and at that point, usually what's processed is a hard credit inquiry. Yes, there's this lender, and you'll see this at this stage with lower revenue. So that's just about anywhere. So that's to be expected. Don't think, oh, I got to go look somewhere. No, that's what's expected. There are other lenders that I have that could just look at a soft pull, but you have to have greater revenue. Not in this bracket. Other lenders, if you have more revenue, if they have to ask for a hard pull, they'll ask for consent. They'll ask for that on the back end. But that's the thing when you have a higher risk file. So final underwriting, hard credit inquiry, periodically a discovery call or underwriting call could happen. So just be ready for that. That's expected with anything. You're getting funds. What are your exact use for funds? How do I know? And I'm reassured that in the next week this will happen and that will happen, etc. So that'll happen. Funds get then dispersed into the account that you used to go ahead and link and everything, and you're good to go from there. So be accurate in what you do. So what we'll need to is online banking set up. And as you know already, with the plat and everything being dispersed, very efficiently done, very safe and secure. You can have a personal and or business account. I know a lot of people who use personal accounts that are starting up a business account, or business goes into personal different ways. You have holding companies. There's so many scenarios. I've seen it all. Cash flow, I've tracked everything. I've seen a lot. But you can have a personal account that you use for business. That's what it gives you the flexibility too, until you get into the business side, if not already. But eventually getting a business account, what I recommend if you wanted to get away from this and you're generating higher revenue, like 15,000 and above, and those lenders that I have are going to look at a business bank account, not a personal account, moving funds from personal to business. Hey, well, I got 3,000. I moved into my business account, or half of that, and I had to make this invoice payment and payroll where it didn't all go over. Like, no, you have to understand that you start from scratch with those two. You develop about 3 months of bank statements with those, or 4 months, depending on your state, California, New York, and others. So personal and or business bank account is set up. And that's pretty much the gist. No credit requirements usually. And if there were, you would know at a specific level. And just to know that the hard credit inquiry is later, just to check upon this. And things do change. It used to be a lot of the time soft. Now it's hard credit inquiry. So it's even more intuitive and more imperative that you take your energy and time to understand what you're getting yourself into. You're getting the very best from me, just so you know this. And to build up, you have to start somewhere. You didn't get what you wanted, build. Can you start off with a little bit and then get more over time? Can you not? Why can't you? There's a lot of reasons for it. I don't want to get into in this video, but you have that here. There are more things that I can go into over specific requirements and terms I can share with you over time. But just for today, I wanted to show you all this. Up here, on average, sometimes it's 1.39 or 1.55, especially if you've been applying for too many places and inquiring too much, even if it's just no soft credit, or all these lenders know what they're looking at, even when it's a soft credit. You have to be very careful of what you're doing in the last 30 to 45 days. Wait sometimes and then reapply and do it all correctly so it gets processed well. So that's what I wanted to show you about with the up to 10K funding. There are more things that I can go into in this category, but you want to also have 4+ months time in business. Sometimes 3+ months is helpful, but 4+ months time in business. I already went into the amount of revenue you should be generating, and on your lowest month, that's what we're looking at, not just 3,000, 2,000, 1,000, but I had three. No, that's not good to make that basis on. It's not even predictable, or it's not consistent. It's low. And the average of that, it doesn't look good. So there's so much more to look at with these details. But I think that's what I'm going to leave you with. And yeah. Again, just to reemphasize, if you did need help with more of this, another thing, there's 0% interest credit back funding. So whether you are a gig worker or not, there is creative credit backed funding. And this involves things like 0% interest business and or personal credit cards. Sometimes we can do a combo, or we have to do one first, start off with personal to get you then business credit ready. I have a fast track program. I have everything you need. Like, you got the very best. I'm being honest with you. Let me do a lot of the back end work. I like being a silent partner, and you're going to be taking care of efficient communication, email and or text. If it has to be this over here on a call, it doesn't always have to be, believe me. It doesn't. You'll see it in very energy and time efficient and what you're getting from me, the very best. Just know everything is being reviewed and looked at on the back end. 0% interest business and or personal credit cards. You also have personal term/installment loans. Sometimes a personal line of credit, or sometimes a combination of it. Those are harder to get right now, though. And yeah, we can look at that. There's also the fast track program, like I said. And if you're not ready to get into the business side, we can help you with organically increasing your credit threshold, personal side, and do more that can amount to then having you ready. But yeah, there's quite a bit different options, and I have the very best that I've vetted. I won't explain all that today, but business credit cards for 9 to 15 months, 9 to 18 months on average, 6 to 15 months, 6 to 12 months, 18+ months, 20, 24+ months out as you build. And that can help sustain growth. And if you needed to do a combination of that, what you want to have is a 700 credit score, because I can credit stack. So you can have less than that with specific institutions. But if you're looking to credit stack and get the most, not just on one card, but from different providers, if not all in one institution like a Chase, we go and do a Chase, Bank of America, US Bank. It's always best to have it dispersed because they can allow to have more dispersed out and you're building those relationships up. So in the long term, it makes more sense to do that. So if you're already limited or you have multiple and you need to do this effectively without you wasting your energy and time and not getting the most, not being able to renegotiate properly, where I can and the team can, and has done the very best in this, then you're going to want somebody on your side to liquidate the cash out of these. But 700 credit on all three consumer credit bureaus. If you don't, and it's due to high utilization, we can see that. And I'll look at credit reports and or the team when I'm busy and then give you your results back. And you might need to pay down the balance to a specific percentage, 40%, better to have it underneath 30%. Or we'll say pay one of your three cards to this amount and then pay this part completely off. Or here you have too many of these authorized user accounts reporting and it's too much of a bulk making up your credit line history. How many trade lines. There's so much we can go into, but I'm not going to spend the time on that. Personal term / installment loans over here, 680 plus credit. It used to be just on Experian, and it can still be weighed more on Experian, but a lot of the lenders now, they're going to want 680 on all three consumer FICO credit score, consumer credit bureaus, okay? That's what they're looking at on all three of them. So that's what's most important. Make sure you have that. And if you don't, you can use a credit partner. If it's 670, we can try to fast track 650 and above, it makes it a little bit harder to do if it's just due to high utilization. We can clear that up with a bridge pay down, advance loan option. I got you. Don't worry about it. 401k IRA, we can explore that if necessary or to add on top of it. Commonly, those are used when you're trying to start a business with multiple owners, differentiating within assets and protection and liabilities. But there's so much more that you can do and then have that towards working capital. But that's how much I'm going to give you today. I can give you so much more on the creative credit side, but just know that is there. There's cash out refinances. If you have property, real estate, home equity line of credit, home equity loan. There's also on the commercial side that I help people with the commercial real estate and or the investment real estate, preferably owned, free, and clear. There's also equipment stuff that we can look at and withdraw from, equity stuff. So I gave you everything that you needed here. I could have gone into more different specific requirements on this, but I gave you just about everything and I can share with you more over time. Fill out the questionnaire down below in the description. This is my Facebook profile in case you were wondering, helping a client there get funding. You can see one of the results there. There are many others that I've helped people. I don't always post it though, just don't always have the time or just don't go around doing it that way. But you see that's my profile on just Facebook. I have others. You saw the Nexus Rewards. You can also get help here, my back office, everything that you can get access to when you're, if you try to join the business opportunity, you can also do that and help others save, others in the same space as you are, or others, and you can do this completely separate and it has residuals built into it. I have my own systems as well that can help you, and I can give those to you, and there's other residual products involved, and having better profit margins with this, not having to travel everywhere, leaving your home, work from anywhere and everywhere. You can decide your time. Maybe you just do an hour to two a day with what I show you, what you can do. Free and paid traffic. You can send people to a specific system. I have my own system that I've created. And there is so much more. The business loan form, all of this stuff too, done by me. So you have it. With my background, you will be in the best of hands. Like I said again, and as a person first, people over profits is what I care about. Your health, your relationships matter to me more than anything. Your wisdom, you being taken care of first, your family, your friends, you. How are you? How's your level of stress today? How was your weekend like? I know you shared with me, and those things that I do care for. So all of that will be explained. If you want more revenue, different businesses, doesn't have to be gig worker funding, could be something completely separate from it. But yes, that's how it goes. There's different options for different businesses, different uses of funds, different needs, a combination of this, credit back. We can do various different ways, and I'll help communicate the process for you and break it down. But everything down below in the description will be there. I hope you got value from this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave me a comment down below. But look in the description for the questionnaire form if you haven't submitted that. If I have a direct link to go sign up and get started with your gig worker funding and self-employed small business funding that can apply to anything with this specific lender and or others, I'll link you to it down below, the cashback savings and rewards program that is very lucrative, helpful as a consumer, and helping people also if you're wanting to be a part of the business opportunity. It's a very lucrative compensation plan. Pretty cool stuff. So that is all for me. Thank you for joining me. And if you did get value from this video, I'd really appreciate you giving it a thumbs up. Please share it with others who you feel will find value from it. And you don't have to if you don't want to share it. It's okay. And if you have not subscribed, I'd greatly appreciate you subscribing and clicking the bell notification icon so you do not miss any future content I will be coming out with. That is all for now. Take care.